So Brent, okay, so you were on my podcast in 2010 before podcasting really blew up.
Yep.
And then we spoke again 3 years ago, which is shocking because it seems like it hasn't been that long. But okay, so you told me about something new that you're working on. And also feel free to share your screen as well if you want to, show what you're doing.
Yeah, I'll walk everybody through it here in a second. But look, I've been doing SEO for forever. As you know,
Yeah.
you interviewed me 10 years ago about SEO stuff back then. I've been doing it for like 20 some odd years. And with the advent of AI really becoming mainstream 6 months ago, 9 months ago, I realized that this is something that I need to either embrace or probably get gobbled up and spit out the other side. So we started spending a lot of time here at Loud developing tools that utilize the AI tech that was out there. One thing about AI is that it allows you to, I guess, program easier or like tell computers to do things easier, which has been one of the major things I've been missing in my career. Since I was like 25, 30 years old, people have been begging me to just photocopy myself, Xerox myself. Yeah. And I've tried a couple of times, did some trainings, did interns, did all this other stuff. And I couldn't figure out how to do it. And now I think we finally figured out how to like Xerox parts of my brain. I don't think you want all of my brain, but like parts of my brain. Okay. And that's what we've done. So we created a tool called PagePerfect.ai, and it allows you to do more or less what I would do personally or manually on a per URL basis to get the right meta description, title tag, H tags, and I even give you 500 words of content for each one of your URLs. 500 words is clarifying content, so it does feed mostly off of what's already there. But we do try and inject some key phrases in there to make it better for SEO as well.
That's good.
So that's what I did. I'll walk you through the tool itself so you guys can see what it is. But the idea here is to scale. The idea is that 80% of your pages haven't been touched in forever on your website because you don't care about them. They're not driving the revenue. They're not driving the clicks. They're not driving the views, the podcast listeners, whatever it is that your goal is for your site. And so they are left just not touched, not utilized. This is an inexpensive way to make those pages considerably better for those 80%. I'm not saying you should use this for the top 1% of your site, although maybe, okay, depending on how much SEO experience you have. But this is definitely for the bottom X% of your site that definitely needs to be looked at. Google recently did a helpful content update. Not that recently, probably almost a year ago now. And in there, they talk specifically about how they judge a domain overall, domain level, right? Very odd new scenario of Google judging an entire domain when it comes to content. So it's not just about the URL. It's not just about the link structure going into that URL. It's not just about the content on that URL. It's not just about all the other factors that go into judging a URL, but they're now judging the entire domain. And if they find the majority of the domain to be unhelpful, it drags down the pages that are helpful. And that's new, different. Okay. Or maybe they've been doing it for a while. They just now told us, but that's what we need to fix now. And that's why we built this tool and pushed this tool first. We got long form content tools. We got a bunch of other stuff coming later, but this is the one that I thought would be most impactful to the industry. And that's why we went with it. So
can you explain that what Google is doing? What you're talking about? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, they're trying not to give too much authority, if you would, to a website if it only has a couple of good pages and they're crawling 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 other pages that just don't have a lot of good stuff on it. Like New York Times has a lot of good stuff. Chicago Tribune has a lot of good stuff. WGN has a lot of good stuff, right? They're going to judge it more holistically that way versus a site that may have gotten random traction, right, on one particular blog post, but it's not common. The first 1,000 pages on the site were garbage. The next 10,000 were garbage, but they had this one thing that worked out well. So this probably helps them to figure that out and to, just rank overall brands. It's probably moving towards like a brand scenario eventually, that are the best brands for a given topic. They likely have really good locations for a given topic or question or search that you may have, and they probably have thousands of them, right? Or maybe 100 really good sources, and they're trying to give you the best sources. And so to do that, they need to pull in more than just the page itself that you're going to see, but the other things on the domain level that matter. So anyway, so that's what this is for, right?
Okay, but my question is about Google though. Does it only work with big players now, or can somebody individual still be successful?
Of course, yeah, absolutely, you can be successful. You still need all the things that matter. Right? We've talked about this before. I talked about 3 years, talked about it 13 years ago, or 10 years ago, whatever it was. Popularity, authority, relevance. So lots of links coming into your site is popularity, authority, strong link structure from strong places that have a lot of links going to them. Relevancy, the words, text, information that you're writing about on the page. That's getting a little more nuanced now. It's not just about exact match relevancy. And it doesn't matter as much where you put if it's in your title or in your H1 tag, or your headline or your subheadline, or that first paragraph of text. I used to really drill that in, like, it has to be in all these 5 things. That doesn't matter as much anymore. What matters now is, do you cover the topic well? And well is, qualitative, really hard to pin down what a computer will think is well, but do you cover the topic well? And if you do, then you check the box of relevant. And then you also have user signals that are kicking in, right? Are the users doing things that look positive? And that's a long list of different things. Are they reading it? Are they scrolling? Are they, clicking deeper into the site? All these other user metrics that Google has access to as well will play into that. And then, how do they associate to the other content that's on the pages, and what were their search queries before and after, and all these other things kind of play into the user side. Users are hard to manipulate. It's hard to, we can sort of do it. It's just not worth the effort, really. You can spin up a bunch of residential IPs and, act like you're a human. You can do these different things, but it's really hard to get Google to believe it. And the amount of time, energy, and effort to do it is usually not worth the bonus that you get out the other side. So Google's trusting the user signals more. But we need to do something about making sure the entire domain looks good now for Google. And one option is to cut out all your garbage pages. You just delete them, right? But if you have really good high quality content going really deep and wide on a particular topic, that's going to be much better than just deleting 1,000 pages on your site and keeping 5.
But what's an example of garbage pages?
Just not well-written blog posts or podcasts that didn't get any traction, or, news articles that have a 1 paragraph blip about something instead of, the typical 500 words, 1,000 words that you would have on your site. Just poorly designed pages where things are clearly broken. All sorts of factors could play into what is a garbage page versus a high quality page. But
so should people be writing longer articles now online? Because for a while, shorter was better.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do find 2,000 word articles to rank considerably easier than trying to write a 500 word article and getting it to rank. Now, Google does not state any recommendations on word length, period. As a matter of fact, they recently said it doesn't matter how many words you have, stop talking about this. However, the more words you have, the more in depth you get, the deeper in the taxonomy tree you get, the wider you get in the taxonomy tree, and those things positively impact how well that story can rank. So when we generate content, even via AI, we can generate 2,000 word articles via AI. It's not, you can't put it in ChatGPT 4 and expect it to rank, but you can feed it a bunch of information. For example, excerpts of articles, summaries of other articles, articles themselves, right? Feed it really long prompts. We're talking pages, not paragraphs of prompts. And if you feed it all this information and you ask it to do the right things and you do it iteratively to first create outlines, then articles, then, summarizing the articles that it makes. And then, you can make a kick-ass article from this. that ranks really well. Usually our stuff launches at like number 7 to 13 when we launch one of these articles, which is awesome. Getting it above that and getting an actual clicks a little tougher, plays into link structure, trust, authority, etc., that you need to start to build as well. But getting back to where I was, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say with ChatGPT, for instance. Okay, so I know people who it helps them write articles. They use it to help them write articles. But the thing is, wouldn't it sound similar to other stuff online? So it seems like plagiarized or something, or wouldn't it be repetitive content or not?
Depends on how deep you go in your sources. So, with us, we go at least 30 search results deep to capture research. So we ran a huge content house for years here at Loud. We had 600 freelance content writers that worked with us at one time, right? We had huge contracts, multi-million-dollar, well, not multi-million, about $1 million contracts consistently over the years for content. And so what did we do with these writers? Okay. We trained them on what they needed to do in order to be able to write about a topic. It's not that crazy. It's not rocket science. Go research it. What did research mean? Well, for a human, probably read 3 to 5 articles about it and then go write something. Now, it'd be great if I got someone that was an expert in, veterinary cat diseases that they've been doing it for 15 years and they could write about it. That's typically not what you get when you get content writers. You get people that can write well, but they don't necessarily know anything about your topic. And so we would have them research it. So I said, well, forget this. Like, why am I paying 30 cents a word or 40 cents a word for humans to go write this content? And they're only getting 3 to 5 search results deep. And using that, I'm going to feed the AI 30 pages or 30 results, could be 50 pages. Well, you can't do 50, but you have limits on how far you can go before you run out of tokens. ChatGPT 432K right now is around 50 pages. So everything that I'm saying is going to be less than 50 pages altogether. And so we fed it, up to 30 search results. And we have to do some summarizing. We have to do some key takeaways. We got to do all sorts of stuff in order to make that useful. And then we have the bot use that content as its source of truth. And then we have it write a new article. Actually, we have it write an outline first, and then we have it write a new article. And then we build this whole thing out, and we can get 2,000 words of content that way. We haven't launched that publicly yet, but we're using it internally for a lot of clients. We will be launching that publicly in the next month or so. Happy to hop back on the podcast and talk about it then. It is kind of the coolest tool we have because we're only going to charge $100 for a blog post. It's like 2,000 words long. But the tool that we have out today is the one that does all the major metadata and the 500 words of content. The 500 words of content is it's sort of intelligent. Like, we're giving it key phrases. We're giving it some sources of truth for it. We're not going 30 search results deep, though. We're only going 5, right? And so it's still good, but it's not amazing. But the overall output that you can get from AI generated content has to do with how well you train it and which areas you're going to train it in. We can have clients create separate openers. You can have the hook opener where it's like, did you ever think that your cat is dying of cancer? Like, bam, here's how you can find out what's going on. And by the end of this article, you'll be an expert on cat cancer, right? One of those openings. Or you can do an opener that's a little more dry, right? Or a statistic. There are 16,000 cats that die every second from cancer. And you can start with that. All these different things. And so it depends on how you want to train the bot to create the opener. The middle of it is really important to get the voice right. So we have a brand voice doc. You can go to PagePerfect right now, .ai, and you can see a voice generator, brand voice generator. And there you can figure out, like, what does your brand sound like? In fact, we can do it with you if you want. Figure out, like, what is the brand voice that you're putting out there for Radiogirl or whatever other associations you may have. But you give it this information so that it can sound like you and not sound like Wikipedia. Wow. And I think that's really important to get that stuff right, to just tie all of these components together. You can then, of course, give it style guides and different things that you need to put in there and generate it. but you can't use ChatGPT-4 with, hey, write me an article about,
Right.
the US flag and the history of it. So
But how do you know, how do you verify the information to know it's correct? Does the client look at it and make sure?
So we do a 15 to 30 minute review on each of the articles that we create, which is still saving them typically 5 hours of time to create an article, especially one that long. And we have a vet clinic client, so it's one of the things that's why I mentioned the cat thing was on my mind. They will spend about 30 minutes reviewing it. That includes a veterinarian looking at it and going through it. But oddly, Margaret, like, it's not the facts that they're trying to fix. It's weird things like, oh, I don't like the way you're transitioning from this section to this section. Can you make your transitions better? They seem a little abrupt. Or I don't like the chronicalism or whatever. I don't know what word it is, but first, then next, final. And they're like, that sounds terrible. It sounds like you're a grade school student trying to write. So we need to drop, all of this stuff. I don't like in conclusion, or I don't like, it's always the nuance that they didn't like. The fact that we had information about cat cancer perfect throughout the entire document, they love. And that comes from the fact that we grabbed 30 sources and use that as the base and then create the article off of that. As a matter of fact, we tell the AIs, we have different ones that we use Bard sometimes and a few of the others, but it's usually open AI products, just to be frank. We do tell sometimes during some of these prompts, like, forget what you already know about cat cancer and only use this information when creating this article. It depends on where you're at in the process. For creating an outline, it doesn't matter, right? But for creating the longer post section, you would want to have, absolute truth in there. And so it helps speed up the editing process for the users.
That's good. Well, at least they're customizing it, because it is really boring to say first, then, and then in conclusion. That's very basic. That's the beginning writing. So it's good that humans are getting involved in changing the style to suit their needs.
Well, and what we're doing is we're editing it at the prompt level, right? Or we're giving it different examples to use. We're adding it to their brand voice section so that it fixes it for all future articles. We're not just having to edit the same thing over and over and over again. We have stop words, so we don't ever mention, cat cancer. We would say a cat afflicted with cancer or something, whatever the softer tone of that is. We never say, I don't know, dog owner, right? We don't say owner. We say, dog parent instead, right? Like, just weird stuff that a vet would want in the content that I think is, kind of silly, but for their brand is important for them. So that's what we do.
So basically, you're not employing as many writers.
Yeah, we do have 600 that it's still in a database somewhere, but I haven't touched them in 3 months now. And this was something we typically, use on a weekly basis. We do have some that we keep on staff for editors, not really on staff, but keep them retained as editors, just in case the clients want that level of human editing. And we do charge 10 cents a word for the human editing portion of it. But I'll be frank, no one's picked it up yet. So it's just kind of there, and I'm wasting a couple $1,000s a month on it. But it's important that we have the option while people transition and realize that, this doesn't really need a classic editor. It needs someone who knows the content well or knows the topic well, more than it needs a general editor to go through and fix it, because the grammar is usually great. And if you don't like the grammar, throw it through another grammar checker like Grammarly or something, and it should be fine. So
it's so incredible that when I first interviewed you in 2010, well, actually, when I first met you, so it's before 2010, you are so focused. You're just using different technology, because back in 2010, you were talking about, effective SEO. Yeah. And that was so different back then. And now it's like you're the same person, but it's different technology, different tools.
It's like I tell my kids, I've got a million of them now. I've got the 5th one on the way. I tell my kids, make sure you're B- student everywhere. Like, generally, like, spell well, talk decently, whatever. Okay. But be really damn good at something. Like be world class at something, and you'll kill it in life. And that's all I want for my kids. And that's what I've chosen to do with myself. It's like, yeah, I mean, I can carry on a conversation about stuff. Just don't make me talk about sports. But outside of that, I can probably carry on a conversation. But yeah, I'm great at one thing, and that's SEO, and I love it. And I'm going to use whatever tools I can to get it done. So
neat. Okay, so do you want to share your
yeah,
screen?
let me show you the screen. So let me get in, and you blocked my screen sharing.
Ooh, okay, let me allow it.
You.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Can you do it now?
Yeah, I can do it now. Let me see. I'm going to show us again, unfortunately.
This PagePerfect.ai, is that yours or is that somebody else?
No, it's ours.
Okay.
That's so cool. Here's PagePerfect.ai. And this is the main tool that we are launching today. I can expand this a little bit so we can see more of it. Let me move it over there. There we go. So here, just a landing page, get started. You put in your domain here. I can put in a friend of mine. I can put in your site. Like we can just want to go full on, like just type in Radiogirl. I've never done it.
Yeah, it's radiogirl.us.
Okay, radiogirl.us. Let me grab what the actual version of that is, just so we don't have any weird stuff there. There we go. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, no, podcast.radiogirl.us.
A podcast
dot
radiogirl.us.
Yeah, no www.
Got it. Like that?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to agree to these terms and conditions, which are real. Like we scrape your site, we do all sorts of stuff. So just heads up, this is what you're agreeing to. Great, you read it. Awesome.
Okay.
Hit next. All right. This here is us scraping the site and finding information about what we think we can optimize for you. We're pulling data from multiple APIs right now, from SEMrush, Ahrefs, etc., finding out what URL information we have about you, and then getting a number of how many URLs we can kick ass on for you versus use generic, AI tech to do it. So we think that we can really optimize 196 URLs quite well. Okay. So we're going to say, okay, that's a number. If you don't like us doing it for you and you're nerdy and you want to give your own URL list, you can put it in here. We warn you not to do that again, but if you want to, you can put them in here instead. Okay. Now hit next here. And what's the brand name that you want to go by? Radiogirl?
Yes.
Like this?
Yes.
2 words? 1 word?
Yeah, 1 word.
1 word. Okay. Girl, lowercase?
Yes.
Hit next. Competitors. You can add some competitors in here. Do you have any competitors you want to add?
Maybe. I don't remember. I mean, I know there are some out there. So
no? Okay. We're going to skip it. It's optional. But if you wanted to, you can put in your competitors in here. What are we going to do with this data? We're never going to link to them. We're never going to mention them, right? We might use their, well, I'm not going to give the rest of that. We might use their data, or we might exclude their data depending on how close your content is to them. So we take it into consideration and we do some stuff. It's frankly a work in progress right now. So I don't want to commit this right now on what we're doing with the competitors. But it does make your content slightly better, if not considerably better, depending on when you're watching this podcast. But today, it's slightly better. A year from now, it would be considerably better. So, all right, hit next. Here's your brand voice. What do you think?
True. Yeah, you speak with a casual and friendly tone. That is absolutely true. Straightforward, true. Yes. Decently professional and personal experience, different radio personalities, positive and supportive tone. Yes, that's true. Unique stories. That's true. Learn more about the world of radio. Yeah, talks about, he discusses. Yeah, that's true. Talks about is like every description.
So there you go.
A portal into the fascinating world of radio and the people who bring it to life. That's a very good description.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, that's really cool.
So you know how we found this? We scraped the top 10 pages on your site by link structure, grabbing Ahrefs data, SEMrush data, etc. We scraped them. We looked at the information. We told the bot to give us back. It was a fairly complicated prompt, but at the very end of the day, we said, what is the brand voice if you're looking at these 10 pieces of content?
That's
based
it.
off a link structure. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's very cool. Now, can I try another one?
Yeah,
Or
sure.
are you finished? Are you finished?
Well, no, we're not done yet. Let's finish.
Okay, go
Go through
ahead.
this.
Okay, go
There's your
ahead.
brand voice. We hit next. You have some exclusion words if you never want to say the F word or something like that, or whatever it might be. Okay, I don't know what your rules would be, but you can put stuff in there. This is actually really useful for medical stuff, right? Making sure that you don't call things by their non-scientific name. We've noticed, Northwestern Hospital was really picky about that with an engagement we did. They're not researchers, they're data scientists, or no, excuse me, they're scientists, not researchers, right? So nuances like that, like never say researcher, but they're all scientists. That was one very important thing that we did with Northwestern Hospital. So it's a little insight into their brand. Okay, we're gonna hit next to assume that it doesn't really matter that much. Okay, and then we had put in the contact information here. Put it in for you. What's your?
It's Margaret at radiogirl.us. Okay, my company is actually metrolingua.llc. It's Metrolingua LLC.
Okay. And then we have coupon codes here. Right now we're running 15 pages free. Blah, blah, blah. I got all sorts of different ones you can put in there. I'm not going to do it because we're live and I don't want to give away my 99% off coupon that I use myself, right? So I'm going to hit next. Here is where you can review your stuff, add stuff to it if you want.
What do you mean, like pages? Are those the pages that are observed, or what do you mean the pages? 15 pages free?
Yeah, I'm just giving away 15 pages. I'm actually going to pay for all this for you.
Yeah, but what does that mean though? Like,
so we're doing X number of URLs or X number of pages. I guess I should. That's a great point, Margaret. Wait, I should probably be cohesive on whether I'm calling them pages or URLs. So I'm going to make that edit from this podcast and make sure that we say URLs instead of pages. That's
right. URLs,
that's a very good nuance. I like that. All right, so we're gonna scroll down, look at all the stuff. Yeah, sure, I love it. Check out. Okay, there it is, $90. Okay, and I'm gonna pay for it for you.
Oh, thank you.
I'll get all this back except for 3% eventually.
Okay.
So there we go. Okay. Then you get this little thank you page with a cute little robot shaking hands. Isn't that fun? I made this from AI, by the way. It's from Midjourney. And then a couple of links, me not being done with some products I wish I was done with by now. And then we do have the link out to Voice.
See, I'd be interested in the Blog Perfect. That sounds really great.
Oh, yeah, Blog Perfect. That's going to be the awesome one. So you will get, well, we have 3 different versions coming. So you have one where you start with, I only know my key phrase, my topic. That's it. And I am a site about how to create better podcasts. Okay. And I'm going to say, okay, great. That's your overall topic. We're going to create 20 blog posts. Okay. We're going to have 5 spokes and 5 hubs and 4 spokes inside that 20 post content calendar. And then we're going to interlink all 20 of those together in a way that it will maximize your SEO benefit as a cluster, as a 20 blog post cluster. It's going to be so hot. I'm so excited about it. We're using it with clients right now, and it's working phenomenally. Now, the problem with this is trying to go so complicated in a web interface, because we want you to be able to put in the key phrase. Then we want you to be able to approve all 20 blog posts, right? The overall blog titles. Then once those are approved, then we're going to generate the outlines. We want you to be able to edit or approve the outlines the way you want them. And then we're going to create the blog posts themselves. So that whole process, trying to do that online, is really difficult to do. I'm not a product guy. I'm a service guy. I can do outputs great. Like getting you to that output is usually me working offline in tools and getting it done. Trying to get this to be a web interface where it's a self-help tool. That's tough.
That's hard. Wait, I have a question. What do you think about how when people say blogs are not as much a thing anymore? Do you agree with that?
No.
Okay. Why don't you agree?
I think that it is a very important aspect of your brand. So users and search engines can understand more of what you do and how you do it. They don't convert as well as they used to, and that sucks.
Okay.
Right. So you need to have better call to actions. A lot of people do piss poor job, like putting the call to actions into the content itself to get them to do something that's useful for it. And so I see a lot of people spending a lot of money. Sometimes, well, they used to pay us, right, $200 to $300 a blog post to create the posts, but the call to actions weren't strong enough in there, right? The buttons, the graphics, the things that we weren't doing. So we were just making words, right? All of that HTML stuff around the words wasn't powerful enough to get dollars out of it, right? So we drive a ton of traffic to these blogs and it would go nowhere. So are blogs as powerful as they used to be? Not in that regard, but they're still really, really important for Google to know what your overall domain or brand or, section of sites or whatever it is that you are, right? To know what you're based in. And so I would say it's tougher to get the return on the money, but it's still just as vital, if not more vital now than it ever has been.
Yeah, I guess because social media is such a big thing now. So
yeah, social is big, but Google doesn't use those signals, right? Google doesn't use how many likes on a Facebook post, how many Facebook likes you got on a post. They don't utilize that. They don't use tweets or retweets. Some of that stuff helps, but it's a secondary help or a tertiary even help that occurs because it might get fed onto a blog somewhere or an actual web page, or someone that reads your tweet may end up writing a blog post about it. There's all sorts of things that can happen downstream, but the actual tweet or the actual Facebook post or the actual Instagram photo doesn't impact the Google algorithm to get it to rank better.
So basically you're still focused on Google.
I am, although Bing has done a great job in the past 6 months, right? Their acquisition of not acquisition, but significant investment in OpenAI. They're coming back, if you would. I would love it if we had 5 small search engines again that all had 20% of the market share. That'd be amazing. But at this point, Google's still 70% of the market share, maybe 65. I haven't read the latest stats on where Bing is at and how well Bing has done, but it's definitely, they're definitely doing better, right? Where before we're like, Bing is kind of a joke. Like, right. I even went to the Bing launch party in Seattle, right, at Space Needle that they had. And I still was like, okay, Bing, that's weird. Right. Like, why didn't they just call it whatever, Microsoft Search? But
okay, another thing is, when you come up with the brand voice, can you edit that once it's out there? Okay.
Yeah, so you can edit it, change it to whatever it is you want in order to get it like synced up. You should have gotten an email by now. It's a really poor looking email, which will be changed today. So try not to comment on the nasty, like gross text that's in there. Just click on the link when you get there, and you can, if there is a link, there may not be a link yet.
I need to actually, it would be on my, I have to check my phone, but.
Oh, would you? Okay. So it's going to generate, and we can see the output of it. I have another example here we'll use instead, so that we won't have to wait for it. Here's an example from Improvy, which is a company that does painting, usually internal painting, not external painting of your house. It's run by Andrei Kazmierski, great guy, Techstars participant, knows quite a bit about SEO as well. And then this is the output you would get as a spreadsheet. You should be able to copy and paste this directly into your content management system. It literally does what I would do myself to create these new things. Now, I can tell you Andre does SEO well. So a lot of these are close to what he was doing, and some of them aren't. But for people that don't know anything about SEO, it's going to be radically different, number one. Number two, we have some samples from even companies like Barbour, which make those really cool English wax jackets, not a client. They have a lot of meta descriptions that are just empty, title tags that are the same, like over and over again. And this would allow you to, fix those. So here's the—
Where do you post? Wait, where do you use these, the results that you're—
Yeah, so this is the meta description. So this you'd put into your web page and your CMS. Typically, you find a way to import it, so you don't have to do it manually. Doesn't how many pages you have. You only have 20 pages. Just do it manually. I think you had like 200 or something, so that might be a bit of a pain to copy and paste in.
Into your pages, though.
Yeah, and these
Okay.
will go into your pages. Yeah. So here's the meta descriptions. Learn how to paint a room with improving step-by-step guide, giving you pro results through preparation, paint selection, and expert technique. He had something similar. How to DIY paint a room. He's obviously keyword injecting there. I'd say it's a little spammy in today's world. To paint a room in 9 easy steps. And then he has a pipe, improving expert wall painting tips. 1, plan your room. 2, choose your paint colors, etc. So I personally believe that we did a better job creating that meta description. That's the text, by the way, that shows up under the link in Google. So you have the big blue link, and then you have the little two lines of like helper text. That's what the meta description would be. Then we have the SEO title that we would recommend. That's really just the HTML title, but everyone calls it SEO title now. I don't know why. So we call it SEO title. And these should be very succinct and key phrase loaded. So you can see here, how to paint a room, 9 easy steps, top painted brick house ideas, 2023, best bedroom paint colors, 2023. And here they did okay, right? They're on their current titles, close. So bedroom paint color ideas, they did 12 best. That's pretty good. I like the numeric magazine style headline that they did there. So I don't know if we're making a huge difference here for him. Top Madison painters near me, that's much better than best painters Madison, Wisconsin, just off of keyword research and stuff that I would know how people search. And then we have things like social media tags. So things that would be a little better for sharing, you can put those in your open graph. Then you have the SEO headline. So if this is for an article or a blog post, right? Ways to better have a headline to capture, the human and still get some keywords in there. And then here's the fun part. We tell you the selected key phrases that we picked, and then we tell you why we selected them based off of keyword information, keyword difficulties, search volumes, etc. Like this one here, home improvement was selected because it has a keyword volume of 9,900. We also make sure that we stay relevant to the page. That's a balance that has to happen. Sales consultant was in there, residential painting. So anyway, so we explain why we picked the key phrases, which I think is kind of cool that the AI can tell you its own logic as to what was applied to this content in order to select the key phrases that they had. Now, what data did it have? It had a bunch of data, right? We gave it the keyword, we gave it the search volume, we gave it the cost per click information, we gave it its current ranking position, we gave it a keyword difficulty score based off of either SEMrush or Ahrefs data. So we gave it a lot of stuff, right, to make this decision from, but then we told it how to logically think about it, right? So position is really important if you're in the top 30, right? Probably way better than anything in the 80s, 90s. The page probably isn't relevant enough to do that. So you want to lean more towards things that are in the top 20, right? Those key phrases are probably the ones to focus on. And then we do a bunch of other logic. I don't want to give too much away, but so that's what we do. And then we create the 500 words of content, 300 to 500 words of content. And this usually goes on the bottom of the page. And I know it's kind of gross SEO content still, right? This is the stuff where it's like, oh, that content. You see it everywhere. Home Depot's got it. Walmart's got it. Even Amazon's got it at the bottom of their pages. It matters. It makes a difference for clarifying to the search engines what this content's about and what it should rank for. So we do have this content at the bottom. It's not gross. So I could have keyword stuffed it more. I could have done a bunch of stuff. I no longer believe that is necessary. I didn't try and get exact match key phrases in here 3 times like I would have told you 3 years ago, right? Or 10 years ago, I would have told you to have the headline right above or the H tag right above this content to definitely have the exact match key phrase in order to get it to rank. That's not the case anymore, right? The bots, the AIs understand, Google understands what this content is supposed to be about. So make it well written, but make sure that you stay focused on a given key phrase. So this one here is a Dallas painter. You'll see that we talk about house painting in Dallas in the first sentence, right? We understand that pricing transparency is essential for home owners looking to hire professionals for their painting projects. We analyze industry data, including factors such as labor, materials, and blah, blah, blah. And so we get into whatever that content may be. Here's a painted brick house. Transforming your brick exterior can change the way your home looks and feels. And our top 9 before and after painted brick house transformations are here to provide inspiration. So it's great. It doesn't sound like trash. It sounds good, and it's key phrase loaded. So can the other AIs, like the AI content sniffers, tell that this is AI generated? Probably, because we don't put enough into it to get rid of it at the 500 word level. Or 2,000 word blog post, I haven't found a sniffer yet that can tell it's AI generated. That's the difference, right? The amount of rinsing, washing, repeating, information that we do, the iterative steps we do on the other one are enough that we're able to break apart from any way of being able to tell it's from AI. But with this, I'm not trying to make it look like it's not AI. I'm trying to just give some clarifying content at the bottom of the page to help you get to the next step, right? So I mentioned earlier, there may be some high volume search phrases in the 80s and 90s in your position, but you're just so far off that you aren't going to get there. So we got to get you relevant first, and this content will help you get there. And then once you're in the 20s, then we can start doing like the things of pushing it into title tags and H1 tags, et cetera, being more aggressive because you're already ranking in the top 20. So it's okay. You aren't trying to make an irrelevant page rank. So anyway, that's the output, a file. It's a nice spreadsheet. We are going to get to a point where we can export in JSON. We can export in certain formats for like WordPress and Shopify and all these other places that are popular, Wix and Squarespace, et cetera, that are easy for us to match up to. But for now, it's a spreadsheet, and a little bit of copy and pasting, or give it to your tech team, and your tech team will turn it into a CSV, and they'll import it into WordPress or whatever.
Well, the description at the top, is that what was generated in that form that people filled out?
This here is what we generated via AI.
Okay.
For this page about transforming your brick exterior. I don't know. I've never seen the page.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we made for this URL, painted brick houses. Let's go look at it. Never seen it. Hopefully it's decent. Okay. Yeah. White brick. So they're just, transforming it from whatever it was before to another brick house. So clearly they're trying to rank for brick houses. Decent approach here, right? Nice, really long form content, but fairly useful for users. If they scroll and find a house that they like, oh yeah, that's totally us.
But do users really want to scroll through all that information in one page?
Probably not. I would set up a little table of contents at the top and allow you to go see the white house, the brown house, the red house, the blue house, etc. Add some materials there, and bounce them down via an anchor, HTML anchor down to here. That's what I would recommend. Yeah. So I've never seen this page in my life. It's not the best, that's for sure. But it is ranking, and there are some ways to improve it through some of the stuff that we mentioned here. And then this content would go, where is it? There it is. This content is what we generated to be put on the page as clarifying content.
Okay.
So anyway,
that's really incredible. That's a lot of content. I mean, that's a lot of robust content.
Well, yeah, and it's like hundreds of them, right? So, and all of this was generated. I don't know if you got your email yet. It usually takes about an hour and a half hour sometimes.
Okay.
But once you get it, you'll be able to see, the rest of the content that's kind of.
I need to. I mean, I don't have my phone with me because usually I have to check it to see and then forward it. But anyway.
Got it. I understand.
But yeah, anyway. You can. No, I can run and get my phone while you're explaining. But anything else to explain, because then I can get my phone.
No, I think that's honestly, that's pretty much the tool, right? Pretty straightforward. You put in this information, you get back your top metadata, and you implement it into the site. I'm trying to make it easy to get people to start somewhere to improve their SEO. And, we're trying to then move into the longer form content next and get them the options there from as much as like 20 different, blog posts to just the one single blog post too.
Well, I mean, I know that you know you're talking about, because some people who are in SEO and so forth, they sort of came to it relatively late, and you've been doing it since the beginning of the internet, pretty much, or the early days of the internet. Yeah. I mean, but I know you're one of those early people, so.
And I'm just obsessed with it. I love it.
Yeah, you're obsessed with it. Yeah,
it's fun. It's like my thing. So, like I mentioned earlier, it's my one thing that I tried to be really, really good at.
Oh, but actually, the advice that you give to your kids, that they should be good at one thing. What if the thing changes? Like, what if the market changes, that you really can't do that one thing as much? Like somebody who's a really good potter or something.
Or someone who's like a really good SEO guy, and then AI comes in and takes out his entire industry. Maybe.
Right.
Well, then you got to find something else you can be world class in, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I used to be a good salesperson in my 20s. And then I fell into doing SEO full time. When I started my career, I was a 100% commission salesperson selling flashcards for digital cameras at a manufacturer. Viking Components was the name. We're selling up against SanDisk. I told my CEO at the time, I'll be your number one salesperson in a year if you give me Amazon.com, Buy.com, and 800.com. And 800.com went under pretty quickly, but he thought I was crazy because Amazon wasn't even selling electronics or computers or anything yet. And I said, well, I know they're going to, because I knew a guy that was working there. And
because you're from the Northwest originally, and that's where it was located, right?
Correct. And I was in Southern California at the time, but I had a lot of friends and family in Seattle area. I was born and raised in Northeastern Oregon, small town, 800 people. And, that's what we did. So, so I started my career that way. I got Amazon as a client. I figured out how to get in and make it work. And it did. One analogy I often mention for what we're doing with the AI versus kind of where my childhood was, is that I grew up in a town of 800 people, Oregon, look it up on a map. It's like nowhere, Northeastern Oregon. And it's over by Walla Walla, Washington, a little bit, Tri-Cities area. And Dad was an onion farmer. And, we were out there in 103-degree heat pulling weeds. And Dad's like, why are we pulling all of these weeds when we could have some better way to do this? And if onions, they're in rows. Okay. And in between each onion along that row, that's very difficult. If you view it as a spreadsheet, because that's the way my world works, and you're doing an aerial view, right? The columns are easy to clean. It's the rows in between the rows that would be difficult to clean out. And so my dad's like, I'm going to make something that weeds 85% of this, and then we just have to weed 15%. So Dad welded together a machine, we called it the onion weeder, that dug up the columns, if you would, right? The areas that the onions aren't, and got rid of all those weeds. Immediately, bam, got rid of them. And then we only had to clean up the 15% at the end, in between the rows, for all of this. And I thought about that when I was starting to use AI tech. I was like, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to use the AI to do 85%, hopefully 95%, maybe 99.9%. I don't know what that number will be, but I want it to be a big number. And then, yes, somebody, maybe the client, maybe us, maybe, a different AI, right, will need to fill in for whatever's left. And I feel that's what we're doing with these AI tools that we're creating. We're doing that 85% for the user, and then you got to do only 15%. The other thing I've always been scared about is if people are taking their content and just throwing it into ChatGPT-4 and expecting great SEO advice from it, it's going to fail. It's not trained to do that, right? Where I at least want to give the public a tool that takes into consideration the inputs that matter to make an informed decision. Because the mindset has shifted from, hey, I don't know what I'm doing for SEO, right? People, general public. I don't know what I'm doing for SEO. I'm going to go hire an expert. And usually they find crappy experts, but whatever. They know they don't know this. Now they believe, I can just put it in ChatGPT-4. It'll tell me what my best title tag is. No, it doesn't know the highest search volume phrases. It doesn't know which, phrases are more difficult than others, right? It doesn't have this knowledge because you didn't give it the knowledge to figure this out. And it's not something that can be static knowledge. It's not like it's dates and history. It's search volume data that you have to get from a third-party source that's proprietary behind a paywall. There's no way that OpenAI, grab this information. And so they're hallucinating. It's hallucinating like, I'm sure it's a great key phrase. Well, it's not, because it's like 150,000 searches and a difficulty score of 85 on a logarithmic scale to 100, or it's 60 searches a month. And they'll rank well for it, but they're never going to get any traction from it. So you have to give it the right data points to make the decision. And that's what we've done with this tool, is that here is the stuff that matters. Go do this, this, and this to make the decision.
Now, have you talked to a lot of people about this?
This is my third podcast about it, and we've only had it up for like 2 weeks. So
okay, it's totally new.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we've tested the technology on a lot of internal clients.
Nice.
So we have 4 clients, household brand on 3 of them, that have used this for thousands of their URLs, and we're seeing positive results from it.
Wow.
It's only been like a couple months for them, and that's less than that, about 6 weeks. It's been weeks. I want more time, right, for it to really make an impact. But we've seen double-digit percentage gains using the tool, but it's not like the 2x that I'm shooting for, right? Gains. So, and I think that will come over time, but it's just not quite there yet. I do have your optimizations, by the way.
You got what?
I got your optimizations, so I can show people.
Oh, cool.
Now,
I was going to say that what's cool about you is you're always keeping it real, because I know that you're a very successful business person. And when I met you, you're working for Tribune and doing some side stuff, and now you got your own business, but you've always kept it real, like the same person I met several years ago. And I forgot if I asked you this question. Did your ancestors go to Oregon on the wagon trains?
No.
Okay, because my husband's family did. Okay.
No. So last name of Payne is actually not my last name. I found out about 3 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. Okay. So my grandfather is not my grandfather. So grandma kept a dirty little secret for years. And my dad always questioned it, which is really weird that my dad had this mindset that he wasn't part of the family. And I always was mean to Dad about it, because I felt like he was just being an insecure adult. Like, this is so dumb, Dad. Like, it's like a childhood thing. Like, I'm adopted. It's like, no, you're not. Knock it off. But no, Dad would get into huge arguments with Grandma about it, and he'd say, hey, I don't think I look like any of my brothers or sisters.
Wow.
What's going on? And she would get really upset and be like, no, that's not true, blah, blah, blah. And find out, DNA test, ancestry.com. I turn in all my stuff, and I find out that I matched to 0 Paynes of 4,600 matches or some crazy number. And I'm like, okay, that's not statistically probable. And so we went and we cheek swabbed what used to be my grandfather, and he never raised me. I'm never close to him. So I don't mean that meanly. I just, I saw him 4 times in my childhood. So it's not like he was my grandfather in other ways either, but he wasn't genetically my grandfather either. But he did allow me to do the cheek swab, which was nice. Cheek swabbed him, cheek swabbed Dad, cheek swabbed me. And no, he wasn't the father. And Grandma was dead by then.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so we finally figured out who it was, and it's Hover. My last name's Hover, Hover.
Oh.
I'm not going to change my last name. Right. So I'm a Payne. My dad's a Payne. He raised me. Even if Dad changed his name to Hover, he can do that. Whatever. I'm going to remain a Payne because I was.
But did you find out about the Hovers then? Or
no? Yeah, we did. They have They had a bee farm in Pennsylvania. like his dad was a tugboat captain on the Mississippi River. Like, just weird stuff that we found out. His dad was dead by then, or his biological dad was dead by then. And we don't know what the story was. We don't know if it was a one night stand, or if grandma and him were in love. We have no idea.
But she died with a secret.
Yes, she did. She
Oh
carried
my
it
gosh.
all the way to her
Family
grave.
drama. Wow.
Yeah. And you know what? Those things are fun to hear on Maury, but they're not fun to live, right? So you don't want those scenarios. It caused dad depression for like a good couple of years. Like, and again, I was obsessed with just finding the truth, the facts, data. And I threw to the wind like what the emotion might be in this. And I felt bad for a while, and then dad got over it and everything's fine. People adjust to these things. But
he had, his hunch was correct. So he should be happy about that.
He was very happy about that, but that made him more pissed about at his mom. Yeah, his mom. Right. Because he was like, wait a second, like we had these conversations, we got in arguments about it, and
I was right.
Yeah, I was right. Yeah. So this is the output you get. This is the Radiogirl output dashboard here for SEO. You have the optimized URLs, you have the unoptimized ones, although we did all of them, so it's 0. And then you have your brand info. You can edit this anytime you want, make it better next time you run another set. But you can go look at your brand voice, edit it, add some excluded words, add in your competitors later if you want to. But the meat of this is right here, where you can download the data. Talks a little bit about what we did, do a little bit of branding in here, and then here's the file. So just download the file.
That's really cool.
Open it up. Because of formatting issues and just ease of me grabbing data for this, I'm just going to open a new Google sheet and just drop it in there because it's too small in Excel for us to see here. Then we'll go with view, and we'll freeze the top 2 rows. And we'll make it a little less skinny. There we go. And we'll look at it. So look, you have a bunch of stuff you don't have meta descriptions for. I
guess already I don't like when it says discover the. I don't like that. So
okay, so that would be one of the things we'd edit, right? So if you could say, never say discover, never say in our content discover the, and you can immediately get rid of it.
Yeah, because it doesn't even sound like me. I mean, they're talking about voice. It's not, definitely I would not say that. Okay.
Right.
So I wouldn't even say join so and so because I don't speak that way either. I guess I want to keep it consistent with my voice.
Yeah, you would. So what we'd want to do is do a little more work on the voice prompt, right? And give it more information in there. Utilize the excluded words section that we give you an option of, and say, you know what, never say blah, blah, blah. It's like I put into ours, in conclusion. I hate that phrase, especially across AI bots.
Right.
They love to say in conclusion, or it's important to know that, it's critical to remember. I hate that. So I put all of those words in for ours so that it wouldn't show up in any of our content.
But the thing is, when you change the meta, though, would it change the effectiveness of the SEO?
No, not for meta descriptions.
Okay.
It does improve the click-through rate, because what you're getting now is whatever Google finds on the page and decides to select for you. So not necessarily the best option. And usually they have like HTML code in there. They'll grab like portions of an H tag. It's just a mess and kind of gross looking. We could actually go look and see what it looks like now. Let's look at it. I'll put myself to the test here.
It's podcast.radiogirl.
Yeah, it's fine. That US?
Yeah.
So see, I have like the @ sign, like this is not, these are not good meta descriptions, right?
Yeah.
And then, these are pretty generic. At least a lot of these are landing pages. So let's get to an actual post. It's just not going to get the click-throughs that you're going to get if you utilize this information here.
Right.
So get rid of some of the discover. Discover Bob Roberts' journey as a reporter in Chicago, discussing his experiences, passion for trains, and exclusive stories at WBBM News Radio. Maybe you don't like the discover part, but I think that's pretty damn good. meta description. And then here you have your SEO titles. Your current titles, you're putting Radiogirl podcast at the very front of it. You don't need to do that, right?
Okay.
I would definitely move that to the end. In fact, we did that in our way in which we built the titles for you.
That's cool.
And this tells you a little bit about sports show prep, media master from music to radio. So that's kind of the same. We kind of just reformatted a lot of these. You did a great job getting the names of the people in here because you're mainly doing first name, last name SEO on most of this.
Yeah.
And it'll help you to rank for it, obviously, with your name, if the name's in there. But move Radio Girl podcast to the back half of it. I know you want some of the branding there. They're going to get much more branded if they actually click and listen to your podcast.
But why does it show up first in my current thing?
That's the way you programmed it. I don't know what you did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it might be in your content management system as like a default.
I see.
I'm not sure, but you did something in one of your settings to do that. So anyway, this is what we recommended over here. And if you want, you could even implement all this and see what happens, and then we could do a follow-up podcast.
Oh, that's cool.
On the results. Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
Yeah.
Like, if they tank, then I'm gonna be like, damn, that sucks. But
right.
But I'm sure that.
Well, the good thing is that when there are fewer podcasts out there, people did discover my podcast through Google searches because they'd search for somebody's name and they'd say, "Wait, what's this?" They did an interview, and then they would click. So
you're doing the right thing, right? I absolutely would recommend doing first name, last name SEO, and the fact that you have a different format too. Podcasts are great for inbound link structure. So all of these things help to. You even rank for my name. I think you're on the second or third page, but you rank for my name with your podcast. And usually right after we do one of these, you show up on the first page for a couple of months, and then you slowly fall off from there. But I think you have the right strategy. I just think that, we need to get rid of some of the noise, or at least move some of the noise, to the back half of the title tag. This stuff mattered more a couple of years ago or 7 years ago, but it still matters enough today to make that small edit and move it over. Yeah,
I had no idea that it goes automatically to the front. So there must be, like some default or something. Because I still use Google Blogger for it.
Yeah, so who Tara Survey, I can't pronounce last name, Servatius. Yeah. A Radio Life Unscripted. I don't know what that means, but that's more for like a social media push. Yeah. So you would use that in a tweet, then say, no barriers in the radio, because that doesn't really mean anything. You have to get a better idea of like what's going on.
But sometimes I'm taking it from what people say, but yeah.
Breaking barriers in talk radio, making waves in local talk radio for social media headlines. All right, let's see what we have for overall paragraphs, the blurbs. Fascinating discussion features. I'm going to pick one where I can say the name, because it's going to be embarrassing for me to slash her name every single time. Doug Cummings. There we go. Nice and easy. Doug Cummings, a resident of Highland Park, experienced a life-changing moment when a shooting tragedy occurred during the Independence Day parade. In response, he wrote the personal.
Wow, that's a good description.
Escaping the Ozone, to help others prevent becoming victims of violence. The proceeds from the book are donated to the Highland Park Community Foundation. Throughout his career, Doug has worked as a reporter in various radio stations such as WIBW in Kansas, KCMO in Kansas City, KTMX, KMAQ, and WGN in Chicago. He's covered a wide range of stories, including fires, crimes, shootings, and family murders. As a result, Doug is very familiar with the importance of personal safety and the desire of victims to regain control over their lives. In addition to his media career, Doug has been the director of security at a church and a security consultant. He shares his experience in the media and his passion for personal safety in an exclusive interview with Radiogirl. Listen to Doug Cummings' compelling story from his early days in Kansas to the launch of his personal safety mission with Escaping the Ozone. So
yeah, that's a good description. Just doesn't sound like my kind of writing.
Right. So we need to get more of the voice into this.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something that we need to work on too, is get more of your voice.
It just sounds like some of these descriptions and some of these headings sound sort of corporate or something. So I think it depends.
They sound Wikipedia. They sound Wikipedia like. So maybe we need to more heavily prompt the the brand voice doc into
Yeah.
some of these. I'm going to take that as a second recommendation from you.
Yeah.
I'm loving this. It's great.
Yeah, because I purposely write in a way that's very accessible, and I do this, and even in my blog, I do it too. And I don't feel like some of this sounds like me. It's very well written, but it's sort of more, it seems more standard or something.
Yeah, it's Wikipedia style, right? Just generic. So we need to work on getting that better.
Oh, so this is like a lab. We're doing a lab right now.
Yeah, it is. See the ozone case theme, Highland Park relevant. We didn't have any keyword data on this particular URL, so we didn't do as well as we could have. So in here we go. Bob Roberts, probably a little too hard, too many false positive. Here's one here, JC Corcoran. Yeah. So
what the heck is that? JD5 volume 300 CPC 2.33.
So this you rank currently position number 4 for this particular key phrase.
Oh, okay.
The cost per click for that would have been $2.33. The keyword volume for it's around 300, and this is the more or less the keyword difficulty of a 5 on a scale of 0 to 100 logarithmic. Okay. So that's where it got the data from. And so it's selected there mainly based off of positioning. See how positioning is really high in my algorithm. Here you see position 8 was selected for St. Louis radio. But it was more difficult. Again, logarithmic scale, 20 versus 5. And then here we got 2,900 searches for radio industry. But again, even harder to rank for. Yeah. The cost per click is a little lower, which would have made it, I would have told it it's worth less if the cost per click was lower. So a high click-through rate or high cost per clicks and a high positioning or a strong positioning is what made it select this JC Corcoran word.
Well, then it sounds like if the terms are more unique, it ranks better.
You will rank better on easier terms, right? So it's a lower volume search phrase. What we're going to do is we're going to push everything that's not already position 1, and we're going to try and get you a higher positioning on that first. Why? Because you get double the traffic for each position you move up in Google. So like position 1, for example, you get around a 40% click-through rate, 30%, 40%, depending on your industry. Position 2, you're going to get half that, 20 to 15% click-through rate. Position 3, you're going to get 10 to 7.5% click-through rate. Position 4, you're going to get a 5 to 3.75% click-through rate. So those things matter a lot. And if you're number 4 already, we want to double your traffic immediately, even if it is on a lower volume search phrase, and immediately get you a result, get you more traffic. And then the next one, position 8, right? That's got a 1,900 search volume. We're going to want to have a lot more focus on that too, but it's going to be tougher to get from 8 to like 4. And so we're not weighting it as heavily. Plus the cost per click was lower than the cost per click on the other one. So I built into the algorithm that high cost per click phrases, like if you're going to buy it in Google ads, for example, are more valuable, and we should weight it even higher based off of that. So
that's cool.
So anyway, there's the tool. I love it.
It seems really cool.
So I'm excited to, be moving to AI and using AI to do SEO stuff. I never thought I'd be doing this, that's for sure. But when I grew up as a kid, I thought I was going to become a ER doctor, and I ended up becoming a SEO, which a search engine didn't exist back then. So
that's true. Yeah. Because you got in so early. Yeah. I mean, but because when you started studying, or when you started,
I graduated high school in 95, right? There was no real internet in 95. There was an internet, but not a real one.
Yeah. I mean, I went online in 94. I would have gone online earlier if I wasn't in Asia. But when I came home, I got online. It was very early. So
I got online.
There wasn't a lot happening.
I got online in 94 as well. And it cost me like $200 for the long distance phone call that I made. Yeah. And my parents were livid, and they made me pay for it because I was bucking hay and mowing lawns, and I had the money. So,
but also, I mean, I know that you make a living off this, but I've told you this before. It is sort of sad how it's really changed. There are a lot of creeps online. There's a lot of junk online, because back then it was friendly and it wasn't glutted with a lot of junk. So
Well,
it's sort of
it
sad to me.
it it is a very, very spammy industry
Yeah.
that I'm very lucky to have a nice pedigree and a history
Right.
that I can stand out. Director of Tribune for SEO was huge for me. I got to
Oh
handle,
yeah.
Chicago Tribune, LA Times, Baltimore Sun, MCall Daily Press, Orlando Sun Sentinel, etc. And then all the 70 broadcast sites.
Yeah.
And, A, that was a lot of opportunity for me to learn. And B, it was a great opportunity to do public speaking and get out there, talking at the conferences and really getting my personal brand out there. But, and
I
also
don't
look
remember
great
how I
on the
met you,
resume.
because I know I met you at Tribune, because the Tribune owned WGN Radio where I was working, and you were working for Tribune. I mean, were you downstairs in the station, or?
I did training seminars for 10,000 journalists while I was there over the 5 years that I was there, or 4.5 years I was there. So I think I was probably doing a training seminar, or maybe I was
Oh my
told to
gosh,
come
I think
down.
you're right.
And the time I remember meeting you,
Yeah.
we were in a production booth, and you and I sat down and we talked about SEO stuff for like a half hour to 45 minutes. I also met Thomas Skilling that way, and he was amazing.
Yeah.
Love the guy. Like
Yeah.
a savant of information on like weather.
Yeah.
But I finished my hour-long talk with him, and I thought he was totally engaged. He was talking to me, eye contact, like all the stuff. And he's like, "Thanks, appreciate what you're doing." I'm like, "Well, will you do these things?" And he's like, "No, I'm gonna just keep doing what I do.
Right.
Like, I'm really good at that." I'm like, "What? Tom, what are you talking about?"
Well, it worked for him because he's like extremely,
Well,
he's
he's the
become very
best.
wealthy
He's the
of it.
best
Yeah, he's
weatherman in the
incredible.
world. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, he's so good.
Yeah, I'm sure. So I'm sure that's what his focus has been. So.
And that's what he said to me. He's like, "I'm going to
Yeah.
focus as passionately on weather as you are passionate about SEO.
Nice.
And no, I'm not going to say 3-day weather forecast because it has more search volume than 7-day weather forecast. I'm just not going to do it." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Why not?" And he's like, "Not my job. Sorry, man.
Wow.
Nice meeting you." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
But one of the coolest people I met at Tribune.
Oh yeah, yeah. I met him a long time ago. He seemed really friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, a really cool guy. So.
Oh, well, thanks a lot. So I'll let you know. But yeah, that's my only thing. So you heard my feedback about what I just see it. It doesn't reflect my voice. So the initial summary was spot on, and then as the
And then I
results
didn't
came
use it as
back,
much.
yeah, it didn't reflect because it said this is your voice, okay, but it didn't translate it.
Right. It didn't really input it into
Yeah.
the output file the way you'd like it. So I'm gonna try to make some changes to it. And in fact, we'll do it now when I hang
But
out.
it could have worked for other people though, for what they
It does. It does. Like we have some, I can't mention the clients online.
Right.
But we have some clients that it works well with that have a very distinct. One is an apron company that also just recently started selling knives. So
Cool.
you can figure that out quickly if you really wanted to. But they have a very specific voice. They have a very industry voice, or service industry voice, and we managed to hit that voice really well.
Nice.
So I got to find out what happened and how we can get your voice more into your content. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. So I'm gonna I guess I'll end it unless you want to say something else.
No, I'm good. You can end it now. Thank you, Margaret. I really appreciate you having me on. I always love chatting with you.
I know you're great. Yeah, I'm like, we've got to keep in
Okay.
touch. So we should do a follow-up because I'm gonna post this. This is on right now we're streaming on different platforms, but I'll also take it and I'll post it on LinkedIn.
Great. Love it. When you we should do a follow-up. Let me get the voice right for you. We'll get you a new file. And I'll upgrade it. By the way, it's not just making.
Yeah, I should have given you my blog. Yeah, I should have given you my blog because I probably post more. I've been doing that for over 10 years. So,
well, either way, like we'll pick one. Okay, we'll do it before
right.
and after, and we'll talk about the impact that it made on your SEO.
Okay,
it'll be a fun follow up in a couple months. So,
all right, thanks. Okay, well, I'll talk to you again.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye.